Good morning and many blessings here from Reiko P. Blackheart here on my Sunday Detox. We're here for episode 20 and we're going to talk about stigmas. Well, relationship stigmas to be more exact. But in order to know what stigmas are, you need to actually, know what stigmas are. Today I actually have Zeb with me and we're going to talk about different relationship stigmas and how some things that we are considering normal now, it's still stigmas. And how can we address them and talk openly more about what we like and how to remove those blemishes. So, Zeb, welcome to the party.
Yeah. Hi.
All right, if you guys remember, Zeb was here last time we had an episode about long-distance relationships involving the male's perspective. And you guys really loved his feedback on that. So I brought him back again this week about stigmas because me and him both know about relationship stigmas and non-traditional relationship quotas and situations? I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Stigmas. So
all the taboos.
All the taboos, exactly. We've gone through a good slew of taboos in our life. Him more than me, probably. But we're gonna talk more about it. So, for most people, stigmas are blemishes. They think of as like bad. Like something negative. Anytime you hear the word stigma, you just think of something negative. I think the actual definition for a stigma is a blemish or something.
Yeah, stigma is typically like just a negative connotation regarding a particular act or.
Yeah, it's like it's a mark of disgrace
surrounding a particular act or a line of reasoning. It is not, despite popular belief, where you get holes in your hands and feet. That is the stigmata, which is a whole different thing. Please don't confuse the two.
Yeah, no. But no, I know a stigma is like a disgrace. It's a mark of disgrace. People who go to jail get stigmas put on them. People who did some time usually have bad stigmas or bad reps. Or even if you get called a whore, let's say in your past life you was a whore and people just know you as a whore, that is now a stigma. So now we talk about when it comes to relationship stigmas, a lot of times when I'm saying stigmas, I'm talking about poly, open relationships. I'm talking non-monogamy relationship statuses that still have bad stigmas, but nowadays a lot of the younger generations are making it more of the norm, but a lot of the people who are old-fashioned are still kind of looking at it on a negative light, like, oh no, that's not wise, that's not great, whatever you do in the bedroom needs to stay between you and the bedroom, not realizing that this stuff has been going on for generations. It's just that now we're being more open about it, so now we're trying to find a way to discuss it, make it more of the norm for those who consider it the norm without being judgmental of what people want to do in their happiness.
Yeah, so it's more about discussing what people have traditionally found to be disgusting.
Mm-hmm. So let's do this. What is currently, let's talk about what is our current stigmas. I know for me, my current stigma is I've dabbled in being poly, where I was dating one or two different people at one time because I have a lot of love to give. And I typically can't, the love that I have is overbearing for one person sometimes. And if they don't want that, it's not, I could love multiple people for different reasons. So for me, I could be in love with, let's say, my photographer and always have a love for her. Like I will do anything, bend over backwards, want to take care of her, and that love will never die. Like that's not a traditional best friend love. It's a love that you would have for somebody that you would date without actually being intimate with that person. it's a form of intimacy because of what we share when it comes to like our work and working together. And then I have a love for, let's say, my next partner and another partner, and that love doesn't dwindle more on one side than the other. It's just how I am as a person. I just have a lot of love to give. I haven't dabbled in the practice in a good minute because, you know, I was married and I had a person who was like, yeah, I want to be poly, but I don't want to share you. So it was kind of like a contradiction. So it was just, it was a little weird. And also me being pansexual, which is also technically, basically I get told that I'm selfish because I like everybody. And what else? I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life that a lot of people look at as bad stigmas. And I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't look at them as stigmas because it makes me happy. I mean, I'm practicing safe and healthy methods with everything. Like, my body is still my temple, so I'm still doing it. So, but people hear, oh, you've been with multiple people at one time because you're dating a female and a guy. Oh, you must be a whore. No, I'm dating these two people. They're not dating each other. And I'm giving them both the adequate amount of attention and love.
Yeah, I think when we're kind of putting things in categories, there are stigmas attached to the different types of relationships, but there are also stigmas attached to the different types of sexual activity. So there is, on one side, you have things that people that still have a taboo or negative connotation as far as the sexual activity is concerned. But on the opposite side, you have relationships that are considered negative or have certain stigmas or that are taboo. So kind of dividing them into the two separate categories, because you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship with someone to be sex positive, to be open to certain sexual activities. But, you know, it really depends on what that activity is and how socially acceptable it is. If a woman says she's bisexual, that is far more accepted now than it was 20, 30 years ago. Most people don't really see an issue with it as far as like dating a person who is bisexual if they're female. But there's definitely a stigma attached to being bisexual if you are a male. And if you are a female dating a female, I know there are a lot of lesbians who look negatively on women that are bisexual because they feel like they're straddling the fence. There's a lot of men who look at bisexual men as straddling the fence. In my experience, as far as people that I know, that I've talked to, that are poly, that are bi, that are straight, that are gay, that are trans, the recurring theme seems to be that if a man does anything with another man, period, automatically he's default gay. If a man enjoys pegging, whether it's in a relationship, outside of a relationship, part of a dom-sub dynamic, automatically gay. And that is the type of stigma that goes along with just a sexual activity. You know, when I was a kid or when I was younger, I would say, it used to be that girls who gave head, oh my God, like that's the worst thing ever. You know, she must be a whore. She's all, you know, she's all out there, you know. But getting older and kind of maturing, that stigma has died off. Where now, if you meet a girl who doesn't give oral, all of a sudden she is basically like an alien walking around in modern day society. So I think just kind of separating the activity from the actual different types of relationships is a thing. There is and probably always will be a stigma with having multiple partners, but the stigma that is particularly related to the different forms of ethical non-monogamy is one that people are trying very desperately to kind of erase or dispel of. For people who are not really that familiar with polyamory, which is only one form of ethical non-monogamy, there's also swinging, which is ethical non-monogamy. There is having an open marriage, which is ethical non-monogamy. A person who is into cuckolding, where, you are intentionally allowing your wife or viewing your wife or voyeurism with another person, and you are completely signed on, totally aware, fully transparent about the partners that you're taking on and the people that you're engaging with, there isn't a problem. Now, if you're doing this behind someone's back, if you're doing this without their knowledge, if you're refusing to be transparent, if you're not practicing proper sexual health, like you're just out here receiving or giving to any other person without any form of protection, that is reckless. That is not ethical non-monogamy. Mm-hmm. If you have multiple partners, that is only ethical if you are sharing with your other partners that they are not the only partner you have, that you are engaging other people romantically or sexually, and that you're doing that in a way that will keep them safe, both from STDs and from, the shock of having to find out 3 months after you've been dating another person that they're not the only person in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are failing to disclose because they feel that stigma or the view of you having multiple partners is going to have someone look at you unfavorably, which is a legitimate concern. But if a person can't accept the fact that you're bi, or that you are into dating more than one person, or that you feel more complete as a polyamorous person, then that relationship is going to be strained if it works at all.
Mm-hmm. I tell people like this. You can like what you like, but you can never force your partner to be in the lifestyle you like. You can always tell them about it. You can always address it. But at the same time, I understand some people will conform to their partner's relationships or their typical, like, what they consider their norm to make them happy, but then realize it's not what they want. Like, for me, I'm a pleaser. I'm always going to be a pleaser, and that's not going to change. I'm one of those people, like, when I get into a relationship or if I get sexually involved with somebody, I dedicate my time to make sure they get what they need. Like, I'm not a selfish lover. And because of that, back to the whole giving head thing, for me, I'm so used to giving head as a way to please my partner because I know that's going to please them and not expect it back in return. Now that I've gotten older, now I'm wanting an equal exchange because I'm so used to people abusing me being a pleaser. Now, being a pleaser, there's nothing wrong with that. That is still technically a stigma too, because being a pleaser could categorize me as a whore, but I'm very choosy about who I'm pleasing. Like, I have to have some kind of, involvement with that person. And it's funny because even now, a lot of people automatically want to put a stigma on me because I tell them I'm demisexual, and demisexual just means that I'm attracted by, I get turned on by emotions. Don't get me wrong, I could find you physically appealing and find you very hot, but if I don't have no emotional involvement, I'm not going to want to have sex with you. So I'm not going to be one of those people like, hey, come over and chill, and then I'm going to be throwing it in a pentagram for you. No, it's not how I work. I'm going to literally need to have the vibe to be right. So then, like, if it's one of those one-off situations where, like, I do have sex with somebody and I don't have any emotional involvement, I'm going to tell them straight up the sex was whack. Like, look, I know why it was whack. It wasn't you. This is just me. My body's going to reject you. My bad. And I've had more occasions where it wasn't good for me because of that. And I've told people, and for me being blunt, I've had a lot of people get mad at me, and then they turn back around and be like, Ben, it was you. I'm like, no, would you rather me lie to you? I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it felt good to me, because I feel like I'm going to let you walk around with a sense of false ego, and you shouldn't have it right now. Like, it's like, man, I tore that up. No, baby, no, you didn't. Sit down. Come sit down next to me. Let's talk about this.
And, like, I understand that completely. There is a large separation, and you don't necessarily even have to be demisexual to need certain things to be in the right headspace, the right space emotionally to engage with another person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when it comes to sex specifically, if you are engaged with another person, whether that's your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, guy that you met at Costco, whatever the case is.
Costco.
You know, as people were wrestling over the last roll of toilet paper.
And you locked eyes.
Right. You know, you decide to go back to your post-apocalyptic shelter for a little afternoon delight. Whatever the case may be, when that happens, things don't have to be perfect. The stars don't have to align or whatever the case is, but you do need to be comfortable and you need to feel engaged. And if you feel like there's a part of yourself that you're hiding or a part of yourself that you can't share, then you will be more reserved. Mm. And the thing is, when a woman is being reserved sexually, it can send very mixed signals to the other partner. It's like, oh, okay, well, she's being like this because she's shy. She's being like this because, you know, she's not really that into me. She's being like this because she's upset with me. Or I feel like I'm kind of pushing myself on her. Maybe she's just not ready. When it's just, maybe they just need you to do a little more foreplay. Maybe they do need to actually have more of an in-depth connection, like feel like you all should talk more. Maybe they're waiting for you to take the lead or be more aggressive or whatever the case is, but if they feel like they're going to be kink-shamed because they do like to be choked, they do like to be whipped or spanked, they do like to, you know, engage in mutual masturbation, whatever the case is, if they feel like whatever it is about them that they like isn't something socially acceptable or there's a stigma surrounding it, they are going to pull back. And it's going to be less enjoyable for them, and it's going to be less enjoyable for you. At the end of the day, yes, you had sex. Congratulations. You're among every other living mammal on the planet that's achieved their biological imperative. But it doesn't mean that you had the best time you could have. So first of all, picking a partner or picking a person to engage with someone that you can be honest about your likes, dislikes, predilections, whatever the case is. Because if that person is going to shame you or treat you poorly because of what you're into, that's not okay. And a lot of people who end up in polyamorous relationships or end up dating a person who is poly, they have a lot of misconceptions about what that means for their relationship. If a man starts dating a polyamorous woman, they hear the word poly and they automatically think, oh, that means my girlfriend's into girls. And they're like, is it okay with you if I go looking for another partner? Of course the guy's gonna, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, find somebody. So when she brings home a 7-foot-tall Jamaican man and says they're, you know, gonna go upstairs, then you're sitting there with your mouth wide open, upset and disappointed because you thought that she was going to be bringing home a petite 5'2" girl for you all to share. Polyamory is not always sexual. It is not always where the person that you're with is going to choose a partner that you are going to approve of, physically or sexually or emotionally, but they're not picking someone for you. They are picking a partner that meets their needs. So if you are not okay with that, if the idea of your partner being touched by another man or another woman, be that a trans woman or a trans man, upsets you or you are not okay with it, you need to have that discussion. You need to be open about your personal bias. And if it's something you can't get over or can't get past, then I think that would be a good time to kind of discuss the state of your relationship and whether or not there needs to be a relationship. Because otherwise you end up in a coupling where you are disappointed, your partner's disappointed, there's a lot of animosity and resentment because this person said they were okay with something they didn't completely understand, and now you're both kind of miserable and doing the best to make the best of a bad situation because you don't want to break up.
Yeah, so basically, long story short, the most thing is, when it comes to stigma relationships, or if you even want to dabble into a non-traditional relationship, with your partner, because as humans, when we have partners and we want to dabble into this, we want our partners to come with us. We want to share those experiences with them. But at the same time, you need to at least communicate. Just like when it comes down to anything in life, we have to communicate and openly communicate and take it is for what it is. You may possibly have to deal with them not taking you serious. They may take it as, oh, you must be joking. Am I not good enough? But at the same time, you need to talk to them as an adult. Just have a clear understanding and conversation about it. Don't just bring it up as a suggestion. Just sit down and talk and view each other's viewpoints on it. Now, I mean, personally, for me, I've had situations where I have brought it up to people I was dating and they weren't for it. And then I just accepted it, and I just, kind of conformed a little bit to the time being. But like I even explained to them, I don't need to be sexually involved with another partner. I can just have, I've been sexually involved with only one partner and then got my emotional neediness from another partner. Like where they gave me all the attention that I wanted and I didn't need to have sex with them. Like that is, it's a clear understanding, because sometimes one partner may not give you everything you need, but another partner will fill in that gap. And that's just it. And I think that's where a lot of misconceptions when it comes to poly comes into play. So, I mean, honestly, for me, that's what it is. I may be physically dating somebody, full blown, letting that person, blow my back out over the balcony, whatever the case may be, however you guys want to say it. And then I may have, a friend who is a female or a companion who is just there for the companionship, come over, watch movies with me, be goofy, and I could be my true girly self and watch romantic comedies and joke bullshit with. And that person will have an undefined love for me. I'll have an undefined love for them, and in my mind, we're dating. You can't tell me anything else. We're dating. That's it.
I think that comes down to kind of broadening the definition of a relationship. A lot of people, when they hear that you're in a relationship or you have more than one partner, automatically in their mind it turns into this scene from 1990 Cinemax where there's 7 people together in a softcore orgy. And it is very rare. It happens. Don't get me wrong. It is just very rare that is the type of coupling that happens when a person has multiple partners. There are asexual people have relationships. Asexual people can be polyamorous. They can have 4 or 5 partners and not be having sex with any of them. Or they can be in a relationship and they're asexual, but they are having sex with 1 or 2 of their partners.
Exactly.
And this is the stigma that goes along with it. It's people are oh, well, I don't want to date an asexual because I actually need to get laid. Asexual people can engage in sex. They do engage in sex. And it's not torture for them. It's not that they're miserable. It's also not every asexual person that abstains from sex or is or isn't into sex. Some of them just like a particular activity. Some asexual people are just into nipple stimulation or just into giving oral or just into cuddling or are into just touch. There are a lot of people who are into sensation play. But like I said, the types of relationships, you can have a platonic relationship or a platonic love for another person. You can have a familial love for another person. You can have a romantic love for another person. You can have a sexual love for another person. You can love a person just on an intellectual level, like me. I am sapiosexual. If you give me a nerd any day of the week and you quite literally start talking nerdy to me, things will happen. I will be far more attracted to you as a result, because I do love the fact that there is a mind behind what I'm seeing is a curvy body, or if a person can engage me intellectually without us actually being in the same space at the same time, that is also a turn on. For me, intellectual stimulation is a type of foreplay. So it kind of depends on what you're considering a relationship and how your partner defines a relationship. If they think that you having 3 partners aside from them means that you're basically going to be like the Amtrak station where a train is getting run on you every day of the week, they're probably not going to be all that for it. But if you let them know that there is a person that you engage with that just is an intellectual partner, you all just bounce ideas off of each other or talk. If you have like a work wife or work husband that is engaged in more strategy-based stuff that you actually feel an attraction to, or a coupling or a pairing with, those are valid relationships in your life. You may have a girl who quite literally you all just make out, hang out, cuddle together, and it's not that you're necessarily having sex, it's just you feel emotionally attached to that person in a way that does not necessarily have to be purely sexual or sexual at all.
That is some of the diva stuff I've heard today, and I commend you on that.
It's true, and that's where a lot of stigma comes from, misunderstanding what the other person wants or is saying or needs.
That is literally
it doesn't mean that you are in some way deficient in the relationship you have. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you less important. It doesn't invalidate the parts of the body that you do or don't have. It's just that the other person has a side of them or a part of them that is not completely satisfied. And just because you're not able to satisfy it doesn't mean that you're falling short. It just means that this person requires something that you don't have and that you can't give. And that shouldn't make you feel ashamed or angry, and it shouldn't make you feel negatively toward them, like, oh, well, this insatiable slut. Like, it's got nothing to do with that.
No, it doesn't.
It's literally like, yeah, it's more or less like when you're satisfied because you've eaten a meal, but it's not necessarily what your body has been craving.
Correct. I mean,
you're not any less full. It's just not the meal you were looking for right then and there.
At that moment, exactly. I tell people that I always tell people come into your life for a reason. And whatever the reason may be, you just got to figure it out. And that's the same way I feel about certain people. Like, there's people I got a certain love for. Like my best friend, I have a love for him that will probably never die. And whether we stay friends or whether our love grow into something different or whatever the case may be, I'm always going to have a love for him and a support for him that would never die. Same with you. Like, I'm always going to have a love for you because especially you've known me for longer than 7 years. And at this rate, the only way I can take you out is I got to kill you. And I don't think that's going to happen. You know too much about me at this point. So I feel like at this point, like, everybody comes into your life for a reason. And for me, I'm one of those people, I don't fall in love often. But then when I fall in love, that love doesn't die. It may just manifest into different love, where it could be, unconditional. It could be a friendship love. In some cases, it went from full-blown romantically involved love to straight up, I think of you as a brother. So, I mean, like, my love never dies. It just manifests to something different. And that's just how I am. Like, I'm naturally, like I said, I'm a lover, I'm a healer, I'm a pleaser, and that's never going to change about me. And I really do, like, I feel for some of the people that I talk to and they talk to me about their relationship advice and how they're not getting any, and I'm just like, bruh, I kind of feel bad for you. I kind of want to help you out in that department, but I can't help you out in that department because, I just don't be throwing. Well, it's like, I kind of do. It's like, I feel bad for him, and I'm just like, bruh, I will totally throw it back in a circle, but then I'm just like, I can't, because
I've been in that boat.
Man, like, it
happens more often than you'd like.
It does, and especially me being a model and posting up, sexy photos, a lot of people automatically just like, oh, she's already DTF. I'm like, no, just because I post these pictures does not mean I'm DTF. Those are just photos. I still have a personality behind that. And my photos in itself is a whole stigma I have to deal with because my family is like, oh, you just always be posting naked stuff. I'm like, am I spread eagle with like fake cum dribbling down my chest? No. So I think I'm pretty good, okay? Calm down. It's,
I mean, maybe next photo shoot, but not so far.
Not.
Before you make judgments, just look at the content that actually exists.
Exactly. So the content that's already there, nobody bothers to like get to hit me up or anything, and people will automatically think because of the type of photos I get, I have a lot of people in my inbox trying to hit me up. Y'all will be surprised. I actually don't have that many people sending me unsolicited dick pics or like anything. Like, I think I maybe know of 2 people that blatantly told me they liked me. But other than that, I don't get people who approach me at all. Like, at all.
Well,
and people,
that's gonna change.
That's probably going to change now that I say this. I'm one of those people, like, if you flirt with me, I don't know you're flirting. I just think that you're just being nice. So unless you blatantly tell me I want to stick my penis in you or I want to see what's up, I kind of don't get it. I don't take context clues very well. So
guys, just for the people hearing this, please do not quote tell her in her inbox, I would like to stick my penis in you.
Oh, that would be insta-block.
Yeah, just please don't. Like, I grew up with a mantra my entire life that there is always a nice way to say fuck you. And that just means, in short, that there's always a way to rephrase something to make it more palatable. Like, is it possible for me to say something like, damn, you got some nice big fucking lips? I could say that, but that's offensive. Don't do that.
Come to me.
I mean,
Approach me differently.
Like, oh my God, that's so nice. You so cute. Like, that's not going to be every girl. So you could just tell her, she has beautiful lips. I'm pretty sure she knows what her lips can be used for. You don't need to expound on that.
I know I have pretty lips. My lips are my favorite thing on my face. My lips and my eyes. Anywho. No, but straight up, like, huh?
I love your cheek. Like, when you smile, she's got that Cheshire Cat grin, which I'm sure everyone has already noticed. Anyone who's seen a picture of you has seen it. I think that's just absolutely adorable.
I am adorable. That's the reason why I don't think anybody likes me, because I feel like I'm everybody's like kid sister, even if I'm 29. Everybody's just like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I'm everybody's kid sister. You guys didn't know? So that's just me. But other than that, let's talk more in depth on your stigmas, because I know we brushed up on mine. We generally talked about stigmas. Give people a little bit of insight on your stigmas.
In relation to me, the stigmas that I face, I am not a bi man, so I don't have that particular thing hanging over my head. But because I am very openly loving to my friends, to people that know me, that whether they're male or female, I get a lot of negative comments. If I'll tell another man on a post, I love you, man, or I love you without that qualifier of no homo, automatically there are people who will start judging that statement. Like, oh, you love him, why don't you suck his dick then? And I just kind of have to reply with like, well, I'm not really into sucking dick, but thanks for the suggestion. So you have to kind of be secure in what your particular type of masculinity is, first and foremost, if you are going to be complimentary of other men in your life. If you are going to tell a guy he's nice, or that you like the outfit that he's worn, or that you love him, or that you appreciate him, or that he's been there for you and you're happy that he's in your life, of course someone's going to put a homosexual connotation on it. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. Like, my entire life, I've been a sensitive, kind-hearted, good-natured male, and that has, since I'm an 80s baby, that has gotten me a lot of shit throughout the entire time I was growing up. People have always, oh, you're gay, you're such a faggot, oh, you're just queer. And not that there's anything wrong with that if that were the case, but that's just not my bag. That's not what I'm into. But I'm constantly put in a position where either I can be defensive about it and start championing for men's rights to express themselves verbally and emotionally, or I can just let people have the opinions they're going to have. But there's always going to be a stigma about you being emotionally kind and emotionally open and emotionally supportive of other men. But I'm hoping that with the death of what people perceive as toxic masculinity, that it's going to kind of decrease over time. So that is definitely a stigma that I face often. Aside from that, there in my dating life, in my relationships, being polyamorous, there is what people would consider a positive stereotype. And for those of you who have no idea what a positive stereotype would be, because you hear the word stereotype and it's like, what? Black men have a big dick. That is a positive or perceived positive stereotype. Asian women are very eager to please is considered a positive stereotype. Crazy women got good pussy is technically considered a positive stereotype. Now, any woman who is bipolar or suffers from any type of mental illness, I don't think that they wouldn't trade that mental illness in, or that they would be willing to swap that for having good pussy any day of the week. I'm sure peace of mind, emotional stability would probably come in a lot more handy.
Yep.
Than something you could actually trade some lube and a couple of Kegel exercises for.
Yep. I can agree. I can agree with that 100%. 150%. Maybe even 9,000%. I would trade that in. And you know what's bad, though? I've actually had people turn me down on dating apps because the moment I tell them I'm a spiritualist or that I'm a witch, they instantly don't want to talk to me because being a witch has got a bad rep. Not realizing we are the most kind-hearted, sweetest people in the world, and we're the most non-judgmental people in the world. Instantly, they hear witch and they're like, nah, bruh, I'm good. I don't even want to mess with you.
Honestly, yeah. Honestly, I think it's a lot of the PR that gets used with certain words. People figure with a lot of rebranding that you can say the same thing using a different set of words and it will be far less offensive. And for the most part, they're right. You can change the way you say something, and it does change the connotation. If you were to tell them that you are a naturalist or that you're into homeopathic remedies, then instead of just saying witch, that would be fine, because people automatically associate witch with Satanist or a person who practices voodoo or whatever the case is, and all of that has this negative Judeo-Christian connotation to it. So it depends on what you have to say about yourself, how you self-label, how accepted that label is or isn't. Like if a person says they're a Christian, you don't automatically think, oh my God, you burned witches and you were responsible for the Crusades. And, like that's not the stigma that you would attach to a person being a Christian per se. But there are automatic stigmas that are attached to being a witch or being pagan or being poly. Like all of those things automatically come with a set of perception. So when it comes to what is considered a positive stereotype about me being a polyamorous male, and I hear it a lot, is, oh shit, you a pimp. First of all, I am lucky to find anyone, a single partner, that is willing to love and accept me as I am. If I find two people willing to love and accept me as I am that much more blessed as a result, but that does not make me a pimp. Me and my two separate partners are not having threesomes every day. We're not living the life. I'm not out here, with a cane sitting in a chair holding a pimp cup telling them, go make me a sandwich. Like, that is not the toxic, weird, masculine, overtly overtly sexual type of vibe that I'm on, that's not my thing. That's not the thing with most men in polyamorous relationships. We don't have a harem of women at our beck and call. It literally just means that we were able to luck up on partners that we can share time, intimacy, and space with. We don't all live together in some type of a communal home. There are some people who do have those types of relationships where they are living poly, raising children together in a multiple partner home. That's just not my particular brand of polyamory. That's not how I live. So thinking that I'm a pimp or that I'm a player or that I'm out here, oh, you slaying them all, huh? No. Sex is still a normal amount for my normal life with my normal partners when I have more than one partner. Aside from that, thinking that I'm just out here being as promiscuous as humanly possible, collecting partners without needing to do annual health checks, without having to practice ethical non-monogamy. Like, I lost a partner recently because I was not completely transparent about the type of connection that I had with another person, and it was just a digital thing where we were communicating via text message, but they felt I wasn't disclosing enough, and they felt I wasn't open enough, and I had a certain amount of privacy that I was trying to maintain over it. I had a certain amount of reserve about the nature of my relationship with this person, and that was enough to end the partnership that I had with that person. So being ethical in your non-monogamy, being as transparent as possible, setting up the expectations for your partners and knowing their expectations of you and knowing that you can meet those expectations, that's all mandatory. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be in a polyamorous relationship. It's not suggested, it's not preferable, it's mandatory.
It is.
Because
I feel like your
relationship is going to fall apart. It's going to end far sooner. And while it sounds good to be getting laid by multiple people or whatever the case is, if you think that's cool and you would like to keep it going, do what it takes to maintain the relationships in which you are coupling with people.
That's the reason why a lot of people do not look at it that way. Even in a regular traditional relationship, communication is key. Open communication is key. And going into what you're talking about relationships, we did have a couple people bring up some suggestions or to talk about the subject. And one of them did bring up talking about people having multiple partners at the same time, multiple wives is a good idea. They basically said that shit is unsafe and dangerous, and you only have one dick and you only have one vagina. Treat that shit special or it will fall off. So when it comes to this, I'm going to give you my point of view. My point of view is this. Yes, my body, my temple is very special. And again, back to what I was saying, I may have multiple people that I'm in a relationship with, but each person has their own direct ties. I may physically only be giving my body to one person, but another person may be I may be sharing myself emotionally, spiritually, on a different level. And for people who sit here and they get mad about people who are sharing their bodies with multiple lovers, honestly, at the end of the day, if they're sharing it with only two souls and those two souls are not sharing out anymore, they're still sharing something that is special. I mean, honestly, think about it. What difference does it make if you're sharing two people at the same time or if you have multiple partners in a process of 20-year span? Like, what much of a difference is it, honestly? If you be with the same two people consecutively for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the same two people. Does it really make too much more of a difference? Does it make your body more special, less special than if you are in your 20s and you're having late night stands and multiple partners every other week? Like you have one person on Monday, another person on Wednesday, and found a random dude on a Friday in the club and you fucking them. And honestly, most people I knew in high school used to fuck one dude at a fucking high school party, turn around, go to another room and fuck another dude. So honestly, at the end of the day, nobody is on a high pedestal. I didn't do that shit in high school. But I mean, like, honestly, at the end of the day, who are you to say anything? Like, what difference does it make? Your body is no longer important if you fuck 35 people in the process of a 10-year span. It doesn't... Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with you. That's kind of ridiculous, and there's a lot of negative connotations about a person's body count. Like, oh, how many people have you slept with? And yet there used to be this sexist kind of view, and to some degree it still exists, that if a guy had sex with 30 girls, good for him. If a girl had sex with 10 guys, she's a slut. And whatever the case is, as far as like the breakdown of how many people you've slept with, it really doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that in like a casual or a cavalier way. I'm saying it doesn't matter in the sense that you're kind of not putting the proper context on these things. And the context is, if you had sex with 5 people, and the 5 people you've had sex with, you had sex with them protected, you knew that person, they have been tested, you have been tested. When you're engaging with these people, you couldn't be any safer. But if you had sex with one guy that you were feeling, that you met out and you haven't gotten tested, you didn't know this dude from a hole in the ground, you didn't actually do any of the legwork, you have no personal attachment or connection to this dude, and you go home with chlamydia, it looks like the person who you're labeling a slut was a lot more safe than you.
Mm-hmm.
What people forget about the kink community is that we practice, not everybody, but for the most part, we practice certain safeguards, checklists, and guidelines about the people that we interact with. And in the event that, because we are human, we end up finding ourselves on the wrong end of a test or the wrong end of a situation, or we got a little too drunk, or things got out of hand or whatnot one night when we were hooking up, we're the ones who will call you and let you know, hey, noticed a little irritation down here, think you might want to go to the clinic. But the person, like, I've been hearing stories from women who are infertile because their husband has gone out, fucked around with other people, gotten STDs, brought them home, and the woman is just so confident that her husband is beyond reproach that their ovaries have gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
You've had these STDs for so long that they have crippled your ability to reproduce. Or you're having what you think are chronic yeast infections, so you're just treating them over the counter because you're not having an open dialogue. So all of these people who believe that monogamy and just this single partner mentality is just, it's cutting it down. You're looking at it mathematically. And mathematically, yes, you have a reduced chance of coming in contact with a particular disease or germ or whatever the case is if you limit your exposure. But if you're only exposing yourself to one person and you have no idea what that person's sexual health is, then you're far more likely than I will ever be to getting an STD.
Correct.
And if you get one, or if that person that you're talking to gets one, how willing are they to be forthcoming if there is a stigma about disease, if there is a stigma about sex, if there is a stigma about having multiple partners, where this person, rather than telling you that your head game is whack, they went out and got a little from another person who was far better at what they did, They didn't want to tell you because you are in a monogamous relationship that is toxic, and they feel that they have to sneak around behind your back to get their needs met. Then you're in a situation where both of your sexual health is at risk because they couldn't be open. There's such a fear of that stigma that they couldn't actually even share their wants and needs and desires because either you kept shutting them down or kept threatening to leave them or told them it would destroy you or whatever the case is. But if you decide to be an adult about it and realize that it doesn't mean they love you any less, it doesn't mean they need to be alone, it doesn't mean they need to get rid of you, then you might actually be able to have a dialogue where the both of you don't have to worry. Mm-hmm. But there is such a thing as toxic monogamy.
It is. But the thing is, back to that though, a lot of people, I've realized a lot more people tend to end up getting STDs when they're in monogamous relationships than when they're in non-monogamous relationships.
Absolutely.
And it is proven. So I honestly, at that point, I mean, you can't really just sit here and say, oh, what you can't sit here and do that. Honestly, at the end of the day, I hate to be that person. If people want to have multiple partners, most times all those people are fully aware of each other and they're okay with it. If you have a problem with it, then that's on you. Maybe you got to look at your own self. You can't look at their relationship and be like, why am I upset about this? Are you upset because this is the type of lifestyle you want and you can't have that type of lifestyle? Or are you just bashing the lifestyle because you can't even get one person? Like, I don't try to be that person to be an asshole, but really just reflect on why you have a problem with other people's happiness. If it makes all three of those people or multiple people in that relationship happy and they're fully aware of it and they are practicing safe protocols within their relationship, then it shouldn't matter what they are doing. It's not affecting you directly. Unless you are upset because somebody you like is dating them, then that's on you. Then you need to address that with your internal self. But what you do with your life, do with your life. Don't get mad at somebody else for what they're doing. Honestly.
But you don't understand. It'll make baby Jesus cry.
And you want to know something? I am not a Christian, so I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, I hear that. Like that's a lot. Where a lot of these stigmas come from.
But it's not even just that, though. Think about it. Back in the day, a lot of the time, especially in the time of Jesus in Christianity, most of those men were gay. A lot of them were doing orgies, and there was barely any women there. So I really don't want to hear it. And I mean, it is what it is. So I really don't want to hear it because I could really throw back a history lesson at them because now they're trying to erase that little fact. And I'm like, bruh, do you really want me to get on you about your history lesson? Back in the day, they used to actually practice having multiple wives and multiple stuff. It just up until recent day of age, it was a man who basically couldn't have more than one wife because none of the people who were supposed to go to him didn't want to go with him. So he rewrote the Bible to say that no, having multiple wives is illegal. Every time somebody doesn't get their way, they change a rule.
This is true. You always got to move the goalpost.
Exactly. Oh, okay. So I wanted multiple wives, but nobody wants to look at me because I'm ugly and I got a beer gut. So now I'm going to ban having multiple wives and stuff. So I was like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. But I have another story. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to go ahead and read it. This comes from one of my followers. She states that I am Black and I live in the Bible Belt of the United States. I have been practicing ethnical non-monogamy for as long as I've been romantically and sexually active. I believe that my love comes from an infinite source, and sometimes this means I have more than one crush, partner, or lover at a given time. Currently, I'm only dating one man, and it's wonderful. He cooks for me, learns with me. We have such a great sex life, but our families don't know that we are non-monogamous. Both of our families are pretty churchy people. 2, so I have no faith in them accepting my girlfriend or his other lovers. It is hard to act like he's the only person in my life. It's hard to not be able to bring other partners into the family function, and it's hard to keep a poker face when both of our families are talking to us about marriage and the importance of not cheating on one another. Don't get me wrong, you can have an open relationship and still be dishonest and therefore a cheater, but we don't do that. We have a incredible bond and we are sensitive to each other's needs. If one of us is going to spend the night with another lover or go on a date for the evening, it's really just the stigma surrounding having more than one lover that keeps us from really being candid with family. So I feel this on a personal level, especially when it comes down to a lot of relationships involving Black communities. Especially with the younger generation and our generation, we are becoming more and more open. And like I said, I agree with her. I feel this on a home level. Like, I'm pretty sure my family's fully aware of it at this point. Like, I don't hide shit on social media anymore. At one point in time, I was like, no, my family, they're, very old fashioned. But I don't care. Because I realized that in order for me to evolve fully, I have to be my true, honest, and open self. I have multiple people I have crushes on. I have multiple people that I will be okay having or being involved with. Like right now, I have a friend that I have a love for, but they're in a relationship with somebody, a committed relationship, and I have a love for them. Like that's just it. Like, I know I have feelings for this person and my feelings for them will not die. But at the end of the day, I know that would never be, because we are on two different levels of non-monogamy versus monogamy. Like, they are definitely straightforward. This is all I want. I want one person. This is going to be enough. And I'm just more like, oh, love and happiness. I can give you, joys and all this other stuff. But that's just me, because that's how I am. Like, most people who I keep in my circle, at one point in time or another, I've had a crush on, or may have been in love with, or I just use them for some kind of companionship that I lack, because I do have a lot of love to give and I do have a lot of wisdom, and I feel like I do have an infinite source. Now, when it comes down to that, I know it's kind of hard to be your true and honest self, especially in the Bible Belt in the United States. Oh, baby, you're going to have fun. Not really. You're going to have probably the most awkward stares and everything, but as long as you guys are communicating openly with each other and you guys have a flow that is working, both of you are communicating, you're not cheating, you're honest with each other, and you're being open. That I feel like that's the only real thing I could really say, is that you need to be open and honest with each other, especially going down the path of a non-monogamous relationship. And that's a sign of a healthy non-monogamous relationship. Everything that basically she disclosed is healthy, but at the same time, they're ethical. And it's ethical, but it's just the fact of being that when you come down to thinking of what your actual family thinks about, like your family outside of your household, that's when it gets a little tricky, because we were raised to believe that our elders kind of, once they pass judgment, then this is going to be forever a scarlet letter on our body. And I honestly feel like if you are happy, it should not matter what they think. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got them. And honestly, as long as you are happy, you are starting your life, you are at a point where you shouldn't care about other people's judgments. Because like I said, everybody has opinions. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got them. You just need to end up figuring out how to keep your relationship happy, healthy, and sane. And if what you're doing works for you, then fine. With everything else, believe me, everything that's in the dark is going to come to light anyway. Do you want it to come on your terms, or do you want it to just slip out when you're not prepared? Think about that.
Yeah, I concur to a degree. Opinions, in fact, are like assholes. Everyone does have one, but just like assholes, they can get fucked.
Yep.
So that's kind of where this comes in. For you, I think with you living in the Bible Belt, there are a couple of things to consider. And they're the same things I would say to a gay or a trans person living in the Bible Belt. And that is, where are the benefits to what you want to say or do? Everyone wants to kind of jump on the "it gets better" bandwagon. But if you are living in a small town, or if you are living in a very oppressive, puritanical part of the United States, it will get better potentially. It will not always get better. You will need to potentially move to a place where you can be yourself. You'll need to potentially seek out other people that are willing to be celebratory rather than secretive about the type of relationship you have. This kind of boils down to knowing your lane and then staying in it. Because if you know that Big Mama is not okay with the bull dykes, as I have heard on and off throughout my entire life, then telling her that you're bi or have a girlfriend or are intimate with women is not going to go well. Telling your mom or your father, who's potentially a pastor or some other type of thing, it's not going to go well. It just won't. No matter how optimistic you are, no matter how much you hope and think and pray that your parents love you, they, like, literally, it's in the Bible, you have to put your love of the Lord above all others. Like, that's kind of how it goes. And if you feel that since they are churchy people, that if it comes down to a decision between you and their Lord and Savior, that it'll be Him, don't put yourself in an awkward position where you're going to need to make them make that choice. Because they may choose you, but the possibility that they wouldn't, I'm certain, would be devastating.
Probably.
So first and foremost, find out what the benefit is. If the people that you are dating, or the people that you're sleeping with, or the people that you're engaging on a social or an emotional level, if they want something, and that is what the benefit is, like they want to be able to go to a family reunion with you, they want to go to the 4th of July picnic, and, you know, hold hands and stuff like that, if you know that is going to benefit them, as in it will ease their peace of mind, it will make them feel like, as a couple, that things are more solid, you have to weigh that benefit for them against the negative parts of what that means for you. Because you can do that. You can go to the family barbecue, you can hold hands, and just know that you're never going to be invited to another family barbecue. Like, you know that there's going to be a social distancing far beyond the COVID style if you do this to yourself. And it's also going to make them feel more ostracized. And being honest, being poly, being bi, being gay, being trans, all of those things can be socially exclusionary to the people you care about. It might be cool in a commercial, it might be cool on TV, but in real life, when you have to deal with bigoted older people who have a lot of hard-kept religious beliefs, it's different when it's your life rather than a TV show.
Correct.
And in real life, if you know that your family or your friends are not going to have the reaction that is going to make your partner feel comfortable, loved, respected, and understood, that's not going to make you feel comfortable, loved, respected, and understood, more often than not, you're going to have to go somewhere where you may have to make a decision if that's the type of relationship you want to have, whether or not you're going to be safe doing so in the environment you live in.
Correct.
You may have to move to New York, Chicago, to a bigger or more accepting environment to live your true life, to be who you are. And if not, then you have to kind of accept the limitations of your environment. If you all can be who you are behind closed doors, or you can be who you are when you go out individually with your lovers, like if you can take your girlfriend out on the town and have a night out and no one's turning their heads, no one's saying anything, and you can go out with your male partners, if he can do the same with his partners, and it's not ruffling any feathers or causing any problems, that's fine. But if you know the second that you go out or he goes out and there are 3 people holding hands, that the gossip or the rumor mill is going to get started, then exercise caution. Exercise whatever common sense and safety protocols will keep you and your partners safe. I understand we all want to live our truth. I understand we all want to live out loud. I understand we all want to be loved and respected as we are. But it is a dangerous game when the environment you are trying to be your true self in is not conducive to the lifestyle you want to live. Because there are people that have the emotional fortitude to know, all right, my house is going to get vandalized, my car is going to get vandalized, people are going to throw bricks through our window, whatever it is, and they will be like, okay, bring it on. I'm not changing. I'm going to live my best life. And if you have that type of heart, if you have that type of strength, that's great. But make sure your partners have the same dedication of purpose. Because if not, you are going to be putting them in harm's way by outing them if that is not how they're choosing to live. So it's a group discussion. If you let them know, hey, my family's kind of religious, is it okay with you if we go out or whatever, that it's not something that we discuss with my family? Have that talk. If they don't want to live in the closet, as far as like when your mom or dad or cousins come by and you get to play the role of her good friend, then, you know, that's something that has to kind of be discussed. But for the most part, it seems like you've achieved an excellent balance in your everyday life. It seems like you haven't really been rocking the boat. I know it feels bad not to be able to talk about the partners that you have with the people you love, but sometimes it's about protecting yourself, and sometimes it's about protecting them. Because if you know a person is going to look at or treat you differently, you don't want to invite that type of ire into your life unless it's something that you find mandatory.
True. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up with this last one real quick, and then we'll go ahead and discuss it. This last one I got from a friend. He just basically explained his situation with him and his ex-wife. He said, well, me and my ex-wife was married for 13 years, and outside of having their daughter, almost 6 years of marriage, most of his ejaculation happened by mouth or swallowing instead of inside of her, because they didn't want to have kids in their marriage except in the beginning. The stigma of every married couple back in the day was men were supposed to release inside of their wives automatically, was not one of the ones they wanted to follow. Also, later down the line in their marriage, they became fans of voyeurism, where they enjoyed being watched during sex as well as watching others as well. It became stimulating. Contrary to the beliefs of sex being private and sacred, we began exploring outside of that boring stigma and found it to be so exciting. So, first and foremost, I'm not really big on the whole coming inside of person thing either. Like, personally, you don't want to have children with the wrong people. And despite everything, you don't, even if you're married to somebody, you may not want to have kids with that person. Like, honestly, like, real talk. I've had some situations where I've literally thought about it. I was like, bruh, your genetics are bad. I don't think I really want to deal with that. I thought long and hard about it, but I agree. Like, I don't realize, I didn't think that was a stigma until like later down the line, until I actually read this. But I honestly feel like I didn't want to be Cayman unless I wanted to have a kid. And even then, like, I still want a kid, but I'm very picky at this point about who gets to do those things. STDs are real. Like, that scares me. That shit's scary. Now, voyeurism, that shit right there, I'm all for that. I feel like that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. I love people watching and watching people. I spent most of my young adult life hanging around porn stars, going to orgy parties, and watching other people fuck. Like, I would not fuck other people. I was just there to watch other people fuck. I was okay with that. I was good. That shit is a turn on. Like, it's better than watching porn. And I know I'm gonna have a lot of people look at me sideways, but something about that raw nature, watching someone in that vulnerable state, because I feel like at the end of the day, nobody has their full guard up during sex. They don't. I feel like there's no way you can sit here and tell me that you are sitting here and you got your full guard up. You are fully aware of everything going on. That vulnerability when you connect with somebody, watching two people connect, the way they move, the way they go together is beautiful. Like, honestly, even for me, the biggest turn on now, if I get another partner, he has to be down for the idea of watching me and then wanting to come help. Like, that right there is a deal breaker for me at this point in my life. Because if you could watch a person open themselves up and be vulnerable like that and not judge them and find that to be a turn on, like, watching their reaction watching you is a turn on. Like, I feel like at one point in time, everybody should sit here and watch themselves, or at least have somebody watch them. Because that shit, that's a whole different experience. If you've never done it, do that shit once in your life. Put that on your bucket list if it ain't on your bucket list now. Sorry. Wow. I just went down a whole path.
Like, I have, and this is probably going to be terrible to say or to admit, I am not good at being a voyeur in specific settings. If I'm watching two people that I do not know from a hole in the ground, I am 100% on board. I can watch all day. If it is a person that I know, or a partner of mine, and another person, and they are engaging in some activity, my critique brain clicks in, and I want to go in and make some changes, where I'm like, dude, you're the angle you're at is a little too high. You might want to lower your that spot isn't there. You're moving in the wrong direction. Like, I suddenly become a porn director if the person that I'm watching with my partner is not doing the optimal job they could do. And that type of nitpicking from the sidelines is frowned upon. I just want to make that very clear. So, from that perspective, I am not the right guy to be in a voyeuristic situation unless the person who is with the partner that I have is doing a phenomenal job. And that's male or female, period.
I'll be the first person to be like, look, her face looks a little like she's uncomfortable. Can you move her? Can you move that? I need you to wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. She needs to arch her back a little bit. Wait a minute.
And it's terrible because it's like, I don't mean to micromanage, but I definitely can be that guy if I know the two people. Like, if I don't know you, maybe you are into, like, having your legs pinned behind your head. Maybe that is your jam. I don't know for sure, so I can kind of just sit back and watch it and be cool. But if I know that person has, like, you know, she gets cramps in her side if she's been in, like, the missionary position for too long, if, you know, I know that she has, like, back problems and, you know, she's kind of not really arching her back or whatever the case is, like, I kind of get a little too involved. My thing on the whole thing with the stigma in relationships, it is primarily a Christian belief that the whole point in sex is procreation, to be fruitful and multiply. And so it is kind of a stigma if a woman is willing to or if a man is willing to allow or indulge his wife in, the practice of swallowing, whatever the case is, under those, in that context. Because it's like you're defying, your duty as a good Christian to populate the world with other good little Christians because you're stopping them from potentially being born by going down mommy's stomach. That's problematic for me because you should know at whatever age you're engaging in sexual intercourse where you do or don't want a person to come. And I'm sure if you're with your wife and you're having sex, birth control, in this particular situation, I'm assuming birth control is not even an option. Because it's like the person that you're with or married to has to bring you to sexual satisfaction. That person is supposed to be bearing your children. Because my first thought would be, if you don't want to have kids, just get on the pill, get a vasectomy. But apparently it's implied from this correspondence that is not an option. So I'm assuming from the religious paradigm that they find themselves in, that's not an activity they can indulge in.
Correct.
So bearing that in mind, there's nothing wrong with that. I will tell you from personal experience that it does train your body. So if you're used to coming from oral sex or coming in a person's mouth or whatever the case is, it can be very difficult for you to do it anywhere else. If you're in a particular routine or if there's a particular thing that gets you off, it is really hard to kind of switch gears and do something else. So if you're having sex with this person and you're used to finishing orally and they're not, the partner that you take is not into that, it may be difficult for you to just kind of come to climax having regular sex or in certain positions or whatever the case is. So you may want to kind of try to break that habit if you're planning on entertaining any other partners or potentially finding yourself with another person. From the aspect of voyeurism, there is literally nothing that you can do in your relationship that is off limits unless it's something your partner does not approve of. As long as you don't have secret cameras and you're not webcasting without your partner's knowledge to, bearealcreep.com, which I don't know if that's a real website or not. But unless you're secretly taping your partner, you should be okay. If you all can sync it up, if you all can test it out, and there is anything that person is into that you are also into, it's fine. There's really no activity in the realm of sexual satisfaction that is off limits unless you or the person you're indulging in that activity with does not want that to be a part of your routine or play.
Mm-hmm.
There's an actual book that a lot of people who are kind of ignorant to what ethical non-monogamy is, that I would definitely recommend picking up. It's called The Ethical Slut, ironically. And there's several editions, but the first one, the primary book, is by Dossie Easton and Janet Hardy. And it's an excellent read. You should definitely pick it up to kind of inform yourself more into what the polyamory lifestyle is or what the ethical non-monogamy lifestyle is, because like I said, there are various forms of ethical non-monogamy. But this is an example of ethical non-monogamy, bringing someone else into your play, voyeurism, from either the viewing or being viewed. You are letting another person into your sexual play, and it's literally harmless. It is far less likely for you to contract a disease or anything from a person looking at you from the corner or the foot of the bed. Unless, of course, you're at the right angle and they happen to ejaculate and it does a perfect arc directly into your vagina. You should be okay.
I have to say, there's different things that you could look into that is different stigmas when it comes to relationships, when it comes to sex. So, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, you guys can do your own research. You could actually reach out to me, or you could reach out to Zeb. And by all means, we can always sit down and have a discussion about it when it comes to different relationship stigmas and sexual stigmas. But we want to go ahead and just say, at the end of the day, as long as you guys are practicing healthy and ethical sexual stigmas or relationships in monogamy and non-monogamy relationships, as long as you are practicing safely, making sure you take care of your temple, your partner's temple, and have enough respect for yourself to know your limitations. I feel like at the end of the day, only you know you best. And stay in your lane, honestly. Stop touching people's stuff and stay in your lane. Protect your energy and stay hydrated. And get tested regularly. I don't care if you're married or if your partners are honest. You should still take care of yourself enough to get tested. Even when I, in my marriage, every 6 months got tested like fucking clockwork. It does not matter if you're in a monogamous or non-monogamous relationship. Be honest with yourself. Protect yourself. And communicate honestly and utilize the tools that you have out there to make sure you're good to go. You want to add anything?
With regular testing, it's not just about the sexual health that you get tested. If you are in a long-term relationship and you think this does not apply to you or a long-term marriage, you should annually, if you're not doing it every 6 months, get a full blood panel. It's not just something that will help with screening for cancer, with screening for high cholesterol, hypertension, high blood pressure. Getting that STD panel thrown in there just as an aside, it's not going to hurt anything. They're not going to take any extra blood as a result. And it's better to know than not to know, because you never know when or if that relationship could end, and then you find yourself back in the dating pool. Lucky you, last month you got that STD test, so you can go back into the dating pool and find a partner that is more your speed or into the things that you are into. Not wishing anyone's relationship comes to an end, but it's not going to hurt anything to do that extra screening. In addition to that, the only other thing is you listening are the only person who can help these stigmas disappear. Be open, be honest, be transparent about the things that you want to see disappear in 2020 and beyond. Be open, honest, and transparent about the things that you like with your partners, potential partners, future partners, and be willing to let go of toxic things, including toxic monogamy, which is a huge contributor to why people who are poly, people who are bi, are afraid to go out and live their best lives because they think they're going to disappoint their partners, that their relationships that they're currently in are going to have to end, or that something is going to have to change, and change or fear of it can be a huge contributing factor to people not upping their game or living their better life. But change can be good. So I'm going to take a line from Jerry Springer and tell you all to be kind and take care of yourselves and each other.
All right, guys, remember, protect your energy, and I will see you next week. Let me know how you guys like this episode. Send me a link at my handle at lady_Reiko. That's D. I'm having a moment here. lady_Reiko at for IG, and for my Twitter, it's B_REIKO. I had to remember my handles for both, and that's the reason why I think I was kind of thinking Twitter and IG was together. I had a moment. So at this point in time, it is that time. So just make sure you guys leave a review and let me know what you guys think of this episode, and if you would like to hear more things about different stigmas. All right, have a good one.
Oh, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can hit me on Instagram or Facebook. On Facebook, if you just want to send me a Facebook message, Zeb Carter, ZebCarter. You can ask me anything, and I will gladly try to be as open as I possibly can be. So, have a good night.